Hey, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday Night Principal Chiro broadcast, sponsored by DE and Chiro Band of Brothers around the world. Hey, tonight we've got a special guest. Her name is Lauren Georges. Honestly, I've met Lauren a few times at DE, don't really know her, so I'm just excited to hear her story and let her tell us her story. She works with Natalie Nedonovsky up in Michigan and been there with her for 6 years. She's a LifeU graduate and just excited to get to know her better. But before we do, I'd like to give you a little few things I want you to think about. Number one, DE is July 17th through the 20th. So get booked. It's at the Perimeter in Atlanta. Let's get back to the roots. So if you haven't registered, do so ASAP. And again, if you haven't reached out to your teams lately, share with what's going on in your life. You connect with your successes, your struggles, whatever. You share with it, stay connected. So when we go back to DE, we're going to be celebrating our family together again. So again, get registered for the DE, get your hotel booked up, and let's hear for Lauren Georges. Go ahead, girl.
Hello, Lauren here. Thank you, Andy, for that wonderful welcome. So I have, like Andy said, I've been with Natalie Nedonovsky in Michigan, in Farmington, Michigan, for 6 years. I actually just celebrated my 6-year, anniversary of graduating on June 14th. So it's officially 6 years, which it seems like it was just yesterday that I was beginning at Life University and just starting that journey. But then also it feels like I've been in practice for way longer, just with the growth of me as a daughter of God, but then also as a chiropractor as well. And so a lot of that is because of DE, and kind of throughout my story, I'll share how that came about. So I was at Life University and I went to DE a few times. It honestly was, I went to a lot of different seminars, and that's just constantly what I was doing on weekends as I was immersing myself in different, whether it was technique or philosophy things. What I realized, and this will come out through my story too, is a lot of what I heard principle wise and philosophy of chiropractic was rooted in DE and what Dr. Sid taught, and what we still learn from him through his words, whether they're written or spoken through videos. I do have to say I have 2 cats, so if you see them or hear them in the background, this is their hour to be crazy, so sorry about that. But I realized that was something that it was always rooted in DE. I didn't know that as a student though, and so I went to DE as a student, here and there, and I wasn't in the room all the time. We hear all the time, stay in the room, go to every talk. You're never going to know who sparks something in you and what you actually need to hear, and just stay from, all throughout the whole weekend. And so I didn't do that until I graduated, until I started with Natalie. And now we've been going consistently for the last 6 years. And it's honestly shaped me and molded me into just the person that I am today and as a chiropractor. Even why I am here today in Farmington, Michigan at Essential Family Chiropractic. When I got out of school, I was deciding and praying on, am I going to open my own practice? Am I going to start as an associate? So obviously I'm her associate doctor, one of them. And when I was interviewing places, it wasn't necessarily that I was just being interviewed. I was also interviewing them because I had a very clear mindset of how I wanted to practice and who I really wanted to work for and ultimately work with. So when I went into practices, it had to have a certain heart set and an understanding of chiropractic. And I definitely was searching for that. My plan was never to come back to Michigan so soon. God had other plans for me, and his plan is always better than ours. So when I met Natalie, it was through a mutual contact that we both know. And she was really a God thing, a God timing. She was open to receiving an associate doc when I was contacting her. And if it would have been, I think, earlier or later, it might not have worked out as it did. And we met, and I went to our office, and it was just exactly the feeling that I wanted. It was just so genuinely full of love. And we see a lot of families and kids running around, and it was just what I was looking for. And then once talking with her, she evokes the principles of DE so well. And it was like, it was just attractive, right? It was like, that's exactly what I've been looking for and seeking. So we started going to Dynamic Essentials, and something that has always been an overarching theme is lasting purpose in my life. So to give, to do, to love, to serve out of my own abundance, which I believe is given to us by God, with no expectation of return. And that's how we practice in our office. That's how we try to live day to day. And I had prepared, I want to tell kind of a story of something that I think about. This was about, I think 3 years ago now, in 2022. There was a little boy. So to preface the story, we take care of his grandma for many, many years. I think even years before I started in the practice. So she's probably been a practice member of ours for 10 years now. Just such a loving human, and loves chiropractic, and lives the lifestyle of just of health through a healthy nervous system. And so she has a daughter, and her daughter had two sets of twins. So the first set of twins, when she got pregnant with the second set, were I think only a year and a half old. So then when she actually went into preterm labor with the second set of twins. It was a very, very hard labor, and it was pretty traumatic for mom and babies. One of the twins, who I'm going to be speaking about, his name is Teddy. He suffered a lot of damage at birth. He went without oxygen for a long time, and then it resulted in permanent brain damage. And so basically what they were waiting for was him to pass, and they just wanted to make him as comfortable as possible. The grandma and the mom both have nursing experience, and so they got him to get home, and so they could be in their own space, in their own home. They had a separate room for him. He had cords and tubes and things everywhere, and he was hooked up, and just a little guy. And so that was their goal. And when she told me the story and told me what was going on, and we prayed, and I was like, please let us come adjust him. And her daughter was not really exposed to what chiropractic is. I think she was in the mindset of, okay, chiropractic care is headaches, neck pain, back pain, or maybe not even that. I'm not sure. And so she talked to her daughter, and I'm sure her daughter was like, why does this person who doesn't know me, doesn't know my family, want to come and adjust my baby? That is, we're just kind of waiting to pass. And learning from DE and knowing it's like, I'm not expecting anything in return from that. Like, I'm not expecting him to have a miracle and all of a sudden his brain to be completely healed, and now it's viable life and everything to be okay. I'm not expecting that, and I just knew I had to go serve. I knew I had to go love on him. I think the most amazing thing is that even in moments of passing, to have a clear and connected nervous system, to have a clear brainstem and communication to the best of that person's ability, no matter the limitations of matter or anything like that, to be well connected. Like, what a beautiful gift. I think such a great way to enter, our paradise and heaven, and just our forever home. And so that was my mindset going into that. And so I don't remember how many times I went, maybe, I don't know if it was 2 times a week in the beginning. I know that I would go on Fridays, so maybe a few Fridays in a row, and we were open for a Friday shift, and I was planning on going that afternoon after I got off working. And then I mid-shift got a text from the grandma, and she said, unfortunately, Teddy has passed. He passed away this morning. And it just really hit me. It was like, I wasn't expecting the miracle, like I said. That's the no expectation part, I think, in return. But at the same time, it kind of checked me. It was like, ooh, of course, that's what I was praying for, maybe, but am I really living that lasting purpose? Was it really just to serve? What was I trying to get out of this? And truly, it's something that I keep going back to it every time I slip, every time maybe my ego gets involved in a situation, or I feel frustrated in a moment, or maybe somebody's not praising me and I think I should be praised. We all have those moments, right? In practice or in life. I think of Teddy, and it brings me back to be like, no, we love because he is a child of God and he deserves to be loved on. Even knowing that the potential outcome is not to be here earthside anymore. And so that is something that, each time I sit in DE, that room, or each time, just like I said, day to day, I think of that story, and it's like, I could not have done that. I was only 3 years into practice. I mean, I'm still in relative terms, I'm still, I think, a baby in practice, right? But 3 years in, it's like that goes by like that. And I was in school longer than I had been in practice at that point, and to have the authority that I felt in that moment and the conviction to go and do that, I know that I received that from Dynamic Essential. And it just, that when you live that purpose out, then that's kind of the stories that you can have. And just something, again, I just thank Dynamic Essentials for that reason. So that's the story of Teddy, and it just is one that has been really, really good in my life. Trying to think what else to share. Just about what DE has done for me, and I think it's also just guided the way that I just saw a comment. Thank you. It said that Teddy was blessed to be served by me. Teddy blessed me. It's funny, when I was thinking about this earlier, I got very emotional talking about it, and I don't really talk about it that often. And so I'm actually glad I kept it together. I'm a pretty emotional person. And so I'm just glad that I could share his story in an honoring way. And I hope that was felt by everyone here. So I don't really know what else to talk about. Let's see. Are there any questions? I think I can see comments as they come up, but thank you, anyone that's listening right now or maybe listening back. I am from Michigan. I think I kind of mentioned that my plan wasn't to come back to Michigan. I was interviewing to maybe even open a practice elsewhere, but then also just interviewing with docs around the country, and in Wisconsin and California and Florida and Texas. And I just figured, I don't have a husband, I didn't have children, all of these things. So it was like, I'm free to kind of travel around and do, whatever I want, and, serve how I want to and where I want to. And then God very clearly, picked me back up and put me home. And it made a lot of sense to come back home when I did. And like I said, that's just molded, like listening to that. I did, I think listening to that voice within, like every time, sometimes I think it's hard to listen to that sometimes, of, well, this is what I want. But then it's like, well, where do I need to serve? And where am I being called to serve? Not necessarily where I always wanted to. And so, but just following that voice within and where God was directing me, it's just been such a blessing. And again, that wouldn't be, I went into chiropractic school wanting to focus on athletics. I wasn't an athlete growing up. I think I just thought it was cool. It was like, oh yeah, they abuse their bodies a lot and they get into that. And then once I started, when I was in school and I kind of went more mechanistic, honestly, I felt very disconnected from myself. I guess this is where I'm supposed to go next with the story. It was very much like, okay, look at an x-ray, look at the bone that's not moving, and then put a force into the spine. Don't connect to the spine. Don't, trace your hand down. Don't connect to the nervous system. And it was very just like bone out of place, move bone. Okay. And then like next time x-ray, it was very, what I consider mechanistic, and it just didn't feel like how I was supposed to practice. And then I started getting into different groups that, without using, still using SIDS language and verbiage, but without putting the DE label on it, like I kind of said earlier in this talk. It was amazing to be like, oh no, it's rooted in this philosophy of clearing the nervous system and not forcing it, like taking the ego out of it, that we are not the ones doing the healing. The healing comes from within us, right? We're the doctor within. I love getting the DE text every morning. That was the text from, it was a quote from Dr. Bridget. It was like, we have our doctor inside of us. Like that is what we need to keep evoking and telling our people in our communities. And so when that shift happened for me in school, it just it changed my whole perspective of life. And I was always raised very holistically, but then to be able to communicate that in a way, um, as a chiropractor, was really, really powerful. And then it became even more solid going into a room full of people, and they're all saying and living the same way. And they've been doing it for many, many years. I think that was a big thing. Like, I heard so much from my family of, okay, well, if you're not, selling vitamins, or you don't have foot levelers, or you don't have a massage, or you don't have pillows in your office, like, one, how are you going to make money? Like, there's no way that you can make money just by adjusting. And then two, well, why don't you just be a one-stop shop? And I think that that can come from a place of love, of like, well, why not be everything, right? And truly such a godsend of connecting with Natalie and just hearing her voice over and over again, and seeing a successful woman in practice, honestly, like a woman chiropractor being like, no, we can solely adjust. We are a master of one thing, and that is adjusting in our office. And like, what a powerful statement that is. And so again, that's because of what we've learned at DE, and living out the potential of that. So that was a big thing that for the first couple of years took some convincing and certain family members. And again, it was out of love. But what an amazing thing of not having to do the rest of it. We can refer out for those things and then be like, nope, this is what's healing your body, is a clear, well functioning nervous system. And I love that we get to see newborn babies, and we go to hospitals and home births and birthing centers, wherever baby's born, to get mom, dad, and baby adjusted as soon as possible. It's such an honor to be able to look at a baby, be one of the first people to meet the baby. Like, I just think that's amazing. Like, before grandparents, before siblings are meeting this baby, I get to go in and meet the baby and connect with them. Like, that's such a special bond that now that, like, my first baby that I went to adjust, he's now, well, he'll be 6 soon. And it's like, how amazing is that? Like, I've gotten to see him almost weekly, every week for 6 years. And I was one of the first people to actually meet him on Earthside. Like, what other, there's no other profession on this planet that can say that they do that and know these people in the way that we do. And if it were just neck pain, then I would never get to see my little ones flourish and grow up and see all these amazing changes. Just today in the office, we had a 11-year-old boy. Since March of 2024, he has had really severe motor tics. I'm talking like constant blinking, and I watched him walk down the hallway. Before I even knew it was him, I knew it was him, because he was like pushing his shoulder blades together, like really aggressively, and kind of like doing this motion. And I mean, it was like a constant. And his mom was so thankful that we got him adjusted today, and just had so many questions. She watched me the entire adjustment, do the leg check. I taught her what I was looking at. Do you see how his legs are unbalanced? Do you see when I bend his knees up, how it changes? Do you see when he turns his head from side to side, that it changes the leg length? That's the tone in his nervous system. And she knew, just from our day one education. I said, what happened in March of 2024? Why did this, like, what changed in his life? And she paused and she goes, this, he felt what his dad and I were going through. And there was a lot of emotional stress going on. And there was a lot of changes. Home life, we were selling a house. We had to get out at a certain time. Things were a little bit rocky. And then he brought up, he's like, I was also in 4th grade, and it was really stressful in 4th grade. That was the hardest year. And now I just finished 5th grade. That was really hard too. So then we got to connect of like, oh yeah, you were lower in elementary. Now you're, they're expecting more of you. And he's like, yeah, that was a really hard year. Like, I had to study a lot. And so he felt it at home, and he felt it at school. And already they're connecting that emotional stress triggers the physical manifestation of that in his body. And so we got to do what's called the Logan technique. I'm sure everyone's aware of that, to just calm his nervous system down. Just to say, okay, you've been stuck up here in this fight or flight mode, and giving his body permission to say it's okay to be at ease. I guess circling back to Teddy, that's all I wanted to give for Teddy as well, is like giving his body permission to be at a state of ease. And that's what got me the emotion. It's like, that's all I want to do, is just bring people more at ease. Like, this world is just, it's not at a state of ease. It's at a state of dis-ease constantly. And just being so clear with our message, like it's so vital and so essential, that we just can't, we have to be louder about it. And I have to be louder about it. I have to be more, just tell everybody that we know and that I know. And I'm convicting myself as I'm saying that as well, of like, I need to be bolder with my words. But every time I come home from DE, and Natalie can attest to this, she's speaking next week actually on here. She sees a shift in me too. She's like, every time you come back from DE, you're just fired up. And like, we all get like that when we go, and it's just an amazing thing. So I thank you all for this time, and listening to me. I think that was a perfect wrap up for me. I think I might be a little bit short on time, but if anyone has any other questions or comments or anything, I love to share more, but that was, I think, what was on my heart for today. So I thank you so much for having me, and yes, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Now I got a question for you.
Of course.
Okay? So is it safe to say that what DE has brought you is confidence, certainty, and authority?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, Teddy's experience, the Teddy experience wouldn't have happened if you hadn't gotten that from somebody.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Natalie helps promote that, but Natalie is DE, right?
She absolutely is.
And so 100%, it's like, okay, I mean, all you out there listening, we all know there's times where we could or should go say something to somebody in a store or in a market or in a restaurant that we know we should. And like you said, right at the end, you said, we need to get louder. And you said, I need to get louder.
Yeah.
We as a principal chiropractic group need to get louder because, when some people, like you said, the one-stop shopping, they think, well, a lot of people think shockwave is chiropractic or acupuncture is chiropractic or stem cell is chiropractic right now. That's what the community, because we're not loud enough.
Yeah.
And coming to DE consistently will allow us to be louder and louder and louder.
Absolutely.
Great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
so appreciated this.
I totally agree that Teddy's family and the other young boys' family, hey, fourth grade, that was the best 3 years of my life. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, and you know what I also wanted to say with Teddy is also I could have had that expectation of like his mom. Okay, so it's been now almost 3 years since he passed. And I could also have had that expectation that his mom, his dad, the 3 other siblings that are still here, to have the expectation of like, hey, where are you guys at now? Why aren't you in the office? Didn't that plant enough of the seed? And they're not here yet, right?
Yeah.
But again, I don't have that expectation of, oh, just because I went over there and took care of your son, that you're going to start coming to the office. That's not why I did it. And I pray them in, and I hope that they come in, and hopefully, and I know that the grandma's still planting seeds, and she just told me 2 weeks ago, she's like, I think she's getting closer. And so I don't know what will be that last straw for her to come in, but I know now that she at least knows that chiropractic care is so much more than pain. Right. And maybe that's not for her family. Maybe that's for a family friend that even though Teddy wasn't saved on this planet, on this earth, maybe it's for a friend that maybe chiropractic care can save that baby. And so it's planting that seed. We never know how far reaching.
Exactly. So I was going to say, you never know how far reaching, right?
Yeah.
And, and when they do come in, which they will, let's always remember, love them back in. Don't like, where you been? Like, no,
absolutely.
Love them back. Love them back.
Absolutely. So it'll just be time. It will be perfect timing. So, yep.
All right, everybody. I think you heard a wonderful, beautiful soul share her heart tonight. So get back to DE and let's all share it again together here in about a month. Okay.
Yes.
Love you. Great job tonight. And love you all. See you next week and see you at DE.
Thank you. Love you guys. Bye.